Have you ever walked away from a conversation thinking, something about that didn't feel right? Like the words were fine, the smile was polite, but deep down, it all felt staged? It's a strange feeling, being surrounded by people yet emotionally alone. But what if I told you that Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, left behind not just meditations for self-discipline and wisdom, but also insights that could help us spot when others aren't being authentic? Before we dive into it, if you're someone who cares about deeper relationships, ones built on truth, not convenience, then make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. And I urge you, please watch this video till the very end. The last two signs are subtle, but they can absolutely change the way you navigate love, friendship, even family. This might just change your love life in ways you never expected. Let me take you into a story. The story of Leo. Leo was the kind of man people naturally liked. Charismatic, kind, quick to laugh, but also a little too quick to forgive. To overlook, to believe the best in everyone. He surrounded himself with people he thought cared. Friends, colleagues, even a girlfriend who always seemed supportive. But something started to gnaw at him. There were little things. Backhanded compliments, smiles that didn't quite reach the eyes, silence at moments when he needed voices. He began to wonder, were these people really for him or just around him? One night, heart heavy with confusion, Leo stumbled on a passage from Marcus Aurelius. It read, "The opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them know anything about the subject." That hit Leo hard. He realized, not everyone who shows up in your life deserves a seat at your table. Not all company is connection. Some people are just fake. That was the beginning of his awakening. And these 7 signs were the truths that opened his eyes. 1. Their kindness comes with conditions. Let me ask you something. Do you remember the first time someone made you feel truly seen? Think about that moment. Maybe it was a late-night call when your heart was heavy, or a smile across the room that made you believe, this person gets me. Maybe they said the right things, did the right gestures, and made you feel like you mattered. Now, let me ask a harder question. Do you remember the first time that same person made you feel used? Not in an obvious way, no, it was subtle, like a door quietly closing, a silence when you needed them loud, a delay in their response, a not now when you finally asked for support. And yet you still clung to the memory of their earlier kindness. You told yourself they're just going through something. But deep down, you knew something changed. That's what happened to Leo. Remember Leo, the guy whose love story could have been any of ours? He met Maya during a tough time in his life. She showed up like sunlight after a long winter. Texts in the morning, calls late at night. She remembered his favorite coffee order, held his hand through job interviews, and for the first time Leo felt loved without having to earn it. But slowly things started shifting. Whenever Leo failed, like missing a dinner plan, or having a low week, Maya's kindness started to pull back. If he didn't perform a certain way, her affection cooled. If he disagreed with her, she'd go silent. If he was too emotional, she'd accuse him of being too much. And when he asked for comfort, she'd say he was being needy. Leo didn't want to believe it. You never do, right? He kept trying harder, doing more, proving his worth, until one night, heart aching, he opened Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, and a line hit him straight in the soul. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one. Leo realized he had been arguing with himself, debating if Maya's affection was real, twisting his own worth into a shape that pleased her. But real love? It doesn't negotiate your value. It celebrates it. Leo saw it then. Her kindness was conditional. As long as he made her feel good, he received love. But the moment he showed his flaws, she withdrew. That wasn't support. That was strategy. Let me ask you something personal now. Have you ever been in love like that? Where you gave everything, just to hold on to a version of someone that only existed when the sun was shining? Take a breath. You're not alone. So many of us have confused conditional affection with genuine connection. But kindness with strings attached is not kindness, it's a contract. And love isn't a transaction. Real love sees your darkness and stays anyway. Fake love sees your shadow and steps back into the light. And that's why this sign, though quiet, is one of the loudest red flags of all. If someone's kindness disappears the moment you stop serving their needs, they weren't being kind. They were being careful. Careful not to lose control. We're just getting started. The next sign? It's even trickier to detect, and it might explain why some people always agree with you but you still feel alone. So stay with me. Your clarity is just beginning. Would you like me to expand the second sign in a similar style too? Then echo your thoughts, not their own. Have you ever been in a relationship where you felt like you were talking to a mirror instead of a person? You'd speak your truth, your opinions, your beliefs, your dreams, and instead of conversation, you got nods, smiles, yeah, totally, but no questions, no challenges, just echoes. Now at first that feels nice, doesn't it? You think, wow, we're so alike. But over time, that sameness starts to feel hollow, like you're building a relationship with someone who's too afraid to be real. That's exactly what Leo experienced. In the early days with Maya, their connection felt effortless. Every song he liked, she liked. Every opinion he held, she agreed. She never challenged him, never disagreed, never stirred the waters. It was peaceful, comfortable, but also quiet, too quiet. One evening they were lying on the couch, watching a documentary on love and vulnerability. Leo turned to Maya and said, I think real love requires some discomfort, being able to tell each other the truth even if it's hard. Maya smiled and nodded. Yeah, I totally agree. But something about the way she said it made Leo pause. So he pushed gently. But do you ever feel like we avoid hard conversations? She blinked, then smiled again. No, I think we're good. That was it. No reflection, no depth. Just a loop of approval. And that night, Leo realized he didn't know what Maya actually believed. She had become a perfect reflection of his voice, but her own voice? It was missing. Later, he came across a passage from Marcus Aurelius that haunted him for days. If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth, by which no one was ever truly harmed. Leo understood it then. Real love isn't silent. Real love doesn't just agree, it grows you. And sometimes growth comes with friction, disagreement, deep conversations that make your soul sweat. But Maya avoided all of it. Not because she was evil, but because she feared losing him more than she valued being real. Let me ask you something real now. Have you ever loved someone who never told you when you were wrong? Someone who nodded their way through your life, but never added a word of their own? It feels safe at first, but then it starts to feel lonely. You wonder, do they love me? Or are they just afraid to lose me? There's a big difference between agreeing and connecting. One flatters your ego, the other feeds your soul. And if you're always right in a relationship, chances are you're the only one in it who's fully present. Leo wanted a partner. What he had was a shadow. And shadows don't build futures. So take a look at your love story. Are you hearing new music or just echoes of your own? Their absence speaks louder than their presence. Who was the first person that disappeared on you without saying goodbye, without a reason, without a fight, without explanation? Think back. Maybe it was someone you loved deeply, someone who promised to be there no matter what. But the moment things got heavy, when life stopped being picture perfect, they slowly drifted away. At first you make excuses for them. They must be busy. They're just going through something. But deep down, something inside you whispers the truth. They were only there for the sunshine, not the storm. That's what happened to Leo. You remember Leo, the guy we've been walking with through this journey of real and fake love? He was in a season of struggle. He'd just lost his job. His dad had a health scare. Life was unraveling at the edges. And when he needed support the most, he looked around and realized Maya wasn't really there. Not emotionally, not mentally. Sure, she sent the occasional "you got this" text, but no real conversations, no presence. She started canceling plans, avoiding hard talks, changing the subject when he opened up. One night, Leo broke down. He called Maya, needing nothing more than someone to just listen. She didn't answer. He left a voicemail. No reply. And that silence? It said more than any breakup ever could. A few days later, he came across a line in Meditations that broke him. When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. Leo read it again. To love. Love isn't presence when it's easy. Love is presence when it's inconvenient. And that's when he realized Maya had never been all in. She'd only been around when things made her feel good. Let me turn this inward for a second. Have you ever had someone disappear right when your world was falling apart? And worse, did you still defend them? Still hoped they'd show up even when they showed you who they were. It hurts, doesn't it? Because you start to question, was it ever real? Was I just alone this whole time? Even when I thought I had someone? Leo had to face that truth, and it nearly broke him, but it also built him. Because here's the wisdom he gained. Someone's presence when life is bright is not proof of love. Their absence when you're in the dark, that's the real test. If they're not there when you're struggling, they were never with you to begin with. Love stays, even if it doesn't have answers. Even if it doesn't know what to say, it stays. And if someone leaves when the room gets heavy, let them. Don't chase shadows. Make space for the ones who will walk through the storm with you, not just dance in your summer. Because real love, it shows up. Now stay with me, because the next sign might explain why some people can't celebrate your joy, even when they say they love you. For they compete, not celebrate. Have you ever shared good news with someone you loved? And instead of feeling uplifted, you felt small? You finally got that promotion? Or maybe you landed a creative gig you dreamed about. Or perhaps for once you just felt happy, light, proud, alive. And the person you were supposed to celebrate with? They gave you a half smile, a quiet, "That's cool." Maybe they changed the subject, or reminded you of how they were struggling. That feeling, that quiet, bitter sting in your gut, Leo knew it well. Let me bring you back to a chapter in Leo, and Maya's story that looked perfect on the surface. Leo had been working hard behind the scenes on a personal passion project, a photography exhibition, showcasing raw, emotional portraits of people dealing with loss and growth. He poured his soul into it, and finally, it got picked up by a gallery. It was his moment. So naturally, the first person he called was Maya, the woman who claimed to be his biggest cheerleader. She picked up, and Leo, heart-pounding, told her everything. Silence, then, "Oh, that's great, babe. Hey, guess what happened to me today? My manager was so rude again." Leo waited, hoped, gave her another chance to ask more, to feel it with him, but nothing came. Later that night, when he told his best friend, the difference was night and day. His friend lit up, shouted in joy, even offered to help with the opening night. That's when Leo knew Maya wasn't sad about him. She was sad that it wasn't her. And then he stumbled upon another line from Marcus Aurelius that settled like truth in his chest. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. And Maya's thoughts, they weren't focused on them. They were tangled in silent competition. Let me ask you now, have you ever loved someone who couldn't clap for you unless they were on the stage too? Someone who seemed to shrink when you shined? Who turned your joy into their insecurity? It's a lonely kind of pain, because it makes you question your own light. You start dimming yourself just to keep them comfortable. You shrink your voice. You soften your excitement. And slowly, you stop celebrating your own life. That's what Leo did until he realized love isn't just about holding each other during failure. It's also about dancing with each other during success. Real love doesn't compare, it claps. It doesn't envy, it elevates. It doesn't see your growth as a threat. It sees it as a shared victory. So take a moment and look at your love story. Do they light up when you rise, or do they quietly hope you'll stay small so they don't feel left behind? Because someone who truly loves you will never feel threatened by your wings. They'll help you fly. Stay with me. The next sign, it's the silent killer of emotional connection, and most people never realize it until it's too late. Sign number 5, they gossip more than they confide. You always feel like you're too much around them. This continues Leo's emotional love story and speaks directly to the heart of the viewer, inviting their memories, their wounds, and their reflections into the narrative. Can I ask you something only your heart can answer? Have you ever loved someone who made you feel like you were too much? Too emotional? Too intense? Too passionate? Too you? It starts small, right? You laugh a little louder than usual and they give you a look. You open up about something close to your heart, and they shift uncomfortably. You cry and they go silent. Or worse, they say, "You're too sensitive. Why are you making everything a big deal? I can't deal with all of this right now." That was Leo's quiet heartbreak. Not one moment, but 1,000 subtle ones. He loved deeply. He felt fully. His soul burned with a need to express, to connect, to show up. But Maya, she didn't meet him there. She liked the version of him that was calm, charming, light. But when he showed his real feelings, the anxiety, the excitement, the depth, she pulled away. One night, Leo came home from a rough day. Work was overwhelming. His heart was heavy. All he wanted was to talk, to be held, to be understood. But as soon as he started sharing, Maya interrupted him. "Why do you always have to be so dramatic?" That moment shattered something. Because she didn't say, "I hear you." She didn't say, "I'm here." She said, "Tone it down." Later that week, Leo journaled a line from Marcus Aurelius that echoed in his chest. "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." And Leo realized he was slowly dyeing his soul in beige, dulling his colors, softening his truth, not because he wanted to, but because the person he loved kept handing him a brush that only painted in gray. Let me ask you now, have you ever felt like you had to shrink to be loved? Like your joy was too loud, your pain was too much, your truth was too intense? And so little by little you edited yourself. You laughed softer, cried quieter. You stopped bringing up the things that mattered. And maybe right now you don't even recognize your own reflection anymore. But here's the truth Leo came to understand. Love should never feel like self-erasure. You weren't made to be quiet so someone else can be comfortable. You weren't designed to dim just to keep someone from flinching. The right person won't be afraid of your depth. They'll dive in. They won't call your emotions too much. They'll call them honest. They won't silence you, they'll sit with you. So look at your story. Are you blooming in their presence, or are you slowly folding into yourself? Because love, real love, doesn't make you feel like a burden. It makes you feel seen. Stay with me. The next sign, it reveals why some people talk a lot but say absolutely nothing that nourishes your heart. 6, their apologies feel scripted. Have you ever had long conversations with someone you love and still felt incredibly alone? You talk every day, you text, you exchange jokes, updates, maybe even sweet little nothings. But when it's over, you're left with this strange emptiness, like they spoke words but never touched your soul. That was the silence Leo started drowning in. From the outside, it looked like Leo and Maya had great communication. They messaged often, had phone calls, laughed about their favorite shows, debated over music and weekend plans. But as time passed, Leo noticed something strange. They weren't talking about anything real. Not about fears, not about dreams, not about past wounds or future hopes. It was like Maya had drawn a circle, and Leo was never allowed to step beyond it. One night after they had laughed over a funny meme exchange and ordered pizza, Leo sat across from her and asked something raw. "Do you ever think about where we're going?" She blinked, smiled nervously. "You're always so intense, Leo. Can't we just enjoy the night?" That's when it hit him. Maya didn't avoid conversations. She avoided connection. Because real connection? It's messy, vulnerable, sometimes even uncomfortable. But it's also intimacy. And Leo wanted more than small talk. He wanted soul talk. Later that week, while walking alone, Leo opened his weathered copy of Meditations and landed on a line that stopped him cold. "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." And it translated in Leo's mind like this: stop wondering why someone won't open up. Ask yourself, are you being open? Are you being real? And are they meeting you there or just pretending to? So let me ask you now, when was the last time someone asked you how your heart is doing and actually listened? When was the last time someone looked into your eyes, past the surface, and saw the storms, the stories, the dreams hiding behind your smile? And here's the scarier question. When was the last time you tried to go deeper with someone and they shut the door? Because some people talk a lot, but say nothing. They keep it safe, shallow, easy. But love asks. Love listens. Love explores. You shouldn't feel like you're begging for depth. You shouldn't feel like you have to force someone to care beyond the surface. Leo finally realized he didn't want a love that lived in the shallow end. He wanted a partner who would dive deep with him, into the messy questions, into the hidden fears, into the quiet corners where real love grows. Because true love doesn't fear depth, it's built on it. So ask yourself, are you talking every day, but never really saying anything to each other? Stay with me. The next sign? It's the one that reveals why sometimes you feel lonelier in the relationship than you ever did outside of it. 7. Your intuition feels tired around them. I want to ask you something that might be a little hard to admit. Have you ever been with someone, physically close to them, but still felt like you were standing alone? Maybe you were sitting next to each other on the couch watching a movie, or at a party, laughing and chatting in the same circle of friends. But somehow, no matter how close they were, you felt this overwhelming isolation. Like you were there, but they weren't really with you. That's the silent ache Leo began to feel. At first, he didn't quite understand it. They spent time together. They had moments of fun. But as time passed, Leo started noticing how every day he felt more distant from Maya. They'd talk, sure, share little moments of laughter, but something was missing. Something fundamental. Leo would reach out, try to hold her hand or make eye contact, but she would be distracted, scrolling through her phone, staring off into space or thinking about something else. And when he tried to talk to her, really talk, he couldn't break through the wall she'd built. It wasn't that she didn't care. It wasn't even that she was deliberately distant. But in the back of Leo's mind, he began to realize something that cut deeper than any argument. She was there, but not really present. He thought about it a lot. He turned to meditations once again for guidance. One passage stood out to him. Be not careless in deeds, nor confused in words, nor rambling in thought. Leo reflected on that. What had he been doing? Was he present in his love, or had he too been distracted? But then he turned the question inward. How much had Maya been physically present but emotionally absent? And that's when it hit him. There's a difference between being in the same room with someone and actually connecting. You can be side by side with someone and still feel like you're worlds apart. And sometimes that feeling of isolation doesn't come from a lack of love, but from a lack of emotional presence. Let me ask you this now. Have you ever tried to reach out to someone, hoping for a spark, but all you felt was coldness? You tried to share your excitement, your frustrations, your joy, and they didn't even look up from their phone. Or they listened, but you could tell their mind was elsewhere. It's heartbreaking, right? Because what happens in those moments is that you begin to shrink within yourself. You stop sharing, stop opening up, stop hoping, and slowly you find yourself standing next to them. But alone, you start questioning your own worth. Am I not important enough for her to be present with me? Leo lived that truth, and it gnawed at him, because he knew that love was supposed to fill those spaces, not leave them hollow. The right person doesn't make you feel alone in the crowd. They make you feel seen, heard, and valued, even in a busy world. Now think back to a time when you've been with someone who made you feel completely present. Their eyes locked onto yours. They listened intently. You could tell they were with you no matter where you were. They made you feel like you mattered. That's real connection. And that's what Leo had to realize. He deserved it. So ask yourself, when you're with your partner, do you feel like you're in it together? Or are you just physically close, but emotionally distant? Stay with me, because the next sign, it could be the one that explains why everything seems to be on their terms, and never on yours. Leo eventually stepped back, quietly. No grand exits, no accusations. He simply stopped investing where there was no return. And in that silence, he heard something he hadn't in years. His own voice. He found new friendships, deep ones, but he never felt fully present. He didn't feel like he was being chosen. He felt like he was being chosen. ones that didn't flinch at truth or disappear at inconvenience. He loved again, but this time with eyes open. The Stoic path isn't about cutting people off. It's about seeing clearly, loving deeply but wisely. Marcus Aurelius didn't live in our world, but his wisdom lives in every relationship we navigate. So here's what I ask you to do. Take a moment. Think about the people around you. Do they energize or exhaust you? Do they mirror you or meet you? Because once you start seeing the signs, you can't unsee them. And that is the beginning of everything. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.